You got a whole hugs all around.
Awesome.
Governor.
So there's so many good things already happening in this state. The governor just talked about the IT Pathways program, which is an incredible part of the pipeline solution. And I know there's been a lot of other things that we've been doing across our company. So I wanted to start with that. Let's just talk a little bit about what we've been doing. Dave, why don't you kick us off and tell us what you've been doing at Inside Sales?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a new thing. In fact, there was a program just to get things going. The governor and I organized and planned. This is probably 3 years ago, where, look, we want to do something really big, very impactful on a large scale, but it's got to start grassroots. So I called the governor about, it was probably, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I said, look, we have an idea. We started it with a little small program where we brought all of our employees' daughters in the office. We used the code.org curriculum and the Scratch program, and we had a kids code camp. It went famously, like they were loving it. So we said, let's go do this in the elementary schools. And I said, Governor, what do you think? Like, will you sponsor something like this? Will you get behind this? He said, Dave, I'm all in. So you arranged a call with, I think the state superintendent. You got some of the,
It's Naval School District.
that's right, it was Naval School District. So then what we did is we took our employees and we went into the school every Friday for about 4 hours. And we taught computer science. And look, there's a lot of long-term things we want to do where we create education for the teachers, and we want to make sure that there's computers, and you're going to hear more about that. But we were just down and dirty, and so we started it. It was an amazing results. I think I shared some of this last year. We had a little kid like this. He was in 4th grade, struggled, was illiterate, didn't know how to read, had confidence problems. And but for whatever reason, man, his mind just grasped programming. And you saw this kid who was kind of ostracized in his school turn into this bright kid. Everybody's going to him for help. They're excited, and you just see this kid transform. So look, I think there's long-term benefits for the state that are going to help create amazing companies like the guys here and what you've seen. But I think there's immediate value in what we're talking about, where you have a kid like that. There was another young girl who, it was amazing. Super analytical. She got into it. She went through our summer program. She had the kids code camp that happened actually in the schools that we're talking about. She then, after the camp and after the courses, went and competed on code.org, was one of the top 10 in the state or in the country, got recognized, was hired by a university in a little brief program to go teach university. So she's I think 10 or 11 years old at the time. And so there's really cool stories that change people's lives.
Yeah.
And so, Governor came and shook everybody's hands. So there's a lot of stuff happening that I think it just needs to get bigger.
Great example of taking action, before having policy and other things in place.
That's right.
Is there a way for people to get involved in that? You have curriculum that people could use. So if we have businesses out there or individuals who want to do what you did, where do they go? How do they do it?
We figured this out in Naval School District, and then we added a couple more schools. We've basically boxed this thing up. Domo does it. You sponsor a couple of schools.
Greenwood Elementary School.
I know Vivint does it. Qualtrics does it. I know you guys are doing it. And so there's probably a dozen schools that have been sponsored by private organizations. Reach out to us if you guys are interested at your company. If you think you guys should do this, we've made it super easy. It is literally an out-of-the-box package. We can help. So
and Todd,
please.
You've been doing something interesting down in Provo. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so, a couple of thoughts here. We're at this tech conference, which is super important, and I think a lot of people out here are interested in, either building their businesses, starting a business, whatever the case might be. But, kind of what's happening up here as I sit with this group here is you've got business leaders recognizing that there are things that need to change or improve, or that there are ways to kickstart things that aren't happening yet that are important to the community, the children, the future of the state. And one of them, Ryan and I, we actually live in the same neighborhood where we live a block away from each other, our kids go to the same grade school, and we have an amazing school. The facilities are great, the teachers are absolutely amazing, but they have very few resources. And this lady came to me, whatever position she had inside of the school. She said, hey, we're trying to raise money over the next 5 years to build a second bank of computers. They had like 20 computers for 280 students, 20 computers. I'm like, what did you just say? We have 20 computers for 280 students? Now, how does that work? Do they get like 5 minutes a day apiece? Or no, like once every other week they get an hour. So obviously, I mean, we live in the computer age, and we've got an amazing, tech culture inside of this community and the state, and yet our children going to school, and they're in the public education system, which is great, didn't have resources to just simply pay for some computers to be in front of every child, to be utilized as something that could benefit them, to educate them quicker, better, faster, more information for the students, for the parents, for the teachers, better communication skills. And so Ryan and I got together with some of the other parents and said, hey, this isn't right. There isn't funding yet, but maybe if we can kick off an initiative to make sure that we have a laptop, or in this case, a tablet in front of every single student. Let's do that. Let's not spend 5 years raising money for, really what would have ended up being a replacement of the 20 computers we had. And people got behind it. Some people weren't behind it, though, to tell you the truth, and Ryan knows this. It was difficult for some people to contribute, even though they had children in the school. Some of the educators were somewhat against it because they were kind of ingrained in the way they taught and they educated. But nonetheless, Ryan and I kicked off the initiative, and then other people came in and supported, and now the initiative is getting pushed throughout the school district, the Alpine School District. And so I'm not saying we did anything great or grand, but we saw an issue and we jumped on it, and Ryan could have spent more time focusing on driving top line revenue and more profit, but instead we spent a little bit of time trying to solve an issue that I think will benefit definitely our children and the kids that will come through that school, but also the state, and hopefully for some of you, some of those kids that are going to go through that grade school, junior high, high school that they're in our area are going to benefit, and maybe they'll be your employees and they'll be well trained and skilled. So we're just trying to do a little bit to help out.
Isn't this where you're supposed to ask the governor for how much money he's going to contribute now?
Yeah, well, we can't. He never says yes. Although Dave told me they.
I can tell you the number.
Said no to.
I can tell you the number. We're putting
I will tell you this. I can guarantee you this. You may not, but our future governor over there, Mr. Skonnard, as soon as you're done, I mean, not until you're done.
You put a nickel in him. You put a nickel in him. He never shuts
Succession
up.
plan.
Would you say what you just said, Governor? I want everyone to hear that.
We're putting $9 billion of money into education. We have the unique challenge.
How much do we have today? How much do we have today going in?
How much do we have?
Yeah, how much are we spending currently? So is
$9
that good or bad?
It's about $10,400 per student.
I love it.
That's how it works out.
An increase.
Now, we get a very good return on our money in education in Utah because we have good parents, we have good students, we got good teachers. We don't have to have bars on the windows and police marching up and down the halls like some areas of the country. So we ought to be able to do better with less. It doesn't mean we don't need more. And again, I can tell you, government can't do it all.
Yeah.
The fact you guys understand that, you're a lot more nimble. You can make changes on a dime. Government tends to be a little bit slow to get around and make, get together the legislature and have the debate, and people come in, and then we pass policy or appropriate money for a budget.
Yeah.
There are finite numbers. There's only so much money to go around. And so you guys stepping up. Government can't do it all, but business can help augment.
I agree.
That's the important thing we're talking about today. What can we do to work together? The synergism that comes with us, and you need to be at the table and help us understand what you need and then help us deliver what you need in education.
Let's dig into that a bit more. Public-private partnerships. Why are those so critical to getting things done? Josh, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good example of it. Silicon Slopes, actually, the reason the name came about is previous governors would call up executives of high tech and say, what are we going to do about branding? And, you see in the magazines and you'd see billboards, the different things that we position our state as. And we talked about, what can we do to develop our tech community? And it kind of was what led to, there was 40 people there, so we couldn't come to a consensus, but it's what led to this. And now, I think it's important for people to understand, since we're talking about public-private partnership, all of the sponsors that you see associated with it, many of us are writing checks for $100,000 plus to get Silicon Slopes really going. And it's not like the other money that we spend to grab customers or to recruit employees. It's really for the long-term thinking of the betterment of our state. And so then we go to the government and we're like, Governor, can you please help us out here a little bit? And that's something that I think we can all express to the legislators, that hey, this is something that is helping our state, whether it's this or helping out with elementary schools, or helping out with universities and trying to help with curriculum, like I know many of us do and many of the companies out there do. I think all that's really important. And like the governor said, and he said it to me many times, yeah, we want to do it, but you guys can move faster. So get it going, provide the leadership, and then let us come in behind and try to really support. So I think it's critical.
It's awesome, yeah. And Governor, I want to go back to you now and have you share your 30-second vision for the future of computer science in every school in Utah. Like, tell us why that's important to you.
Well, if I can confine my remarks to 30 seconds, that'll be kind of a modern-day miracle. Computer science is the future.
Yeah.
Our young people have got to be given skills that are going to line up with the demands of the marketplace, where they have skills that they can sell, they can market. You know what you want. We need to make sure that the system delivers that. Sometimes we need to have you help. Sometimes we have custom fit programs where we actually go to our junior colleges, our community colleges, our tech colleges, and say, for this industry, they need a special line of education and training, and we'll, in fact, custom fit it to that business. Yeah. We also need to make sure that we create an environment where the entrepreneur, like you guys, can succeed. We want to keep government off your backs and out of your wallets. Yeah. That's why we have people moving to Utah to, in fact, expand their business, because it's a business-friendly environment. We want to have entrepreneurs that grow from within, like all of these folks here. We need more of that kind of stuff. That environment is critical to success economically.
I don't know any governor who's received as many state awards for the best business environment. We've been all over Forbes, Fortune, Wall Street Journal, New York Times this last year. They're calling Utah the new cloud capital of the world, and for that reason. And we're in the Silicon Slopes. This name is appropriate for what we are and the heritage we came from. And for us to continue that prosperity, this is a key issue.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really interesting, too, if you think about the folks that have spoke on stage. There's been several that said, and then I took a computer engineering class, computer science class, and then that put me on this path. And some of them got degrees and some of them different, but it put them on this path. Even Susan, president of a very large $1.2 billion revenue company, who's, I'm sure you can go, it's public, see she's making gobs of money. And that's awesome. That's what we need for our environment. That's what grows. That's what allows people to donate money to the schools, the public-private. But it's that initial taste that's so important.
I think the principle that we all need to understand and appreciate, which you think is just kind of intuitive, but we don't see it around the country. The goose that's laying the golden eggs is a healthy, growing, prosperous economy that, in fact, allows the market forces to work. You guys will invent new things. People out here, who knows what's going to come out of this audience, a new something. Yeah. It's going to improve people's lives, and because we want it, they'll make money, maybe a lot of money, maybe a little money, but they'll make money. That's the secret of the free market, free enterprise. Yeah. We believe that in Utah. Yeah. Well, and that's why people are coming here.
One of the things that Ryan talks about a lot, sorry to jump in there, but one of the things that Ryan talks about a lot, and I think it's something that's an issue for all of us, and I'm sure for many of you out there that are running different organizations, is as great as it is here in Utah, we end up bringing in a lot of people from outside the state. And, being able to do that effectively is something else that, we need to continue to look at, but it really highlights the point that we desperately need more engineers, and need to not pay too many outside people to come in and steal
and if you actually, it's not just me looking at the glass half empty. It's just run the math problem on this stage alone. I came to you last year and I said, hey, we've got to open up an office in Seattle, and I couldn't find the head of product that I needed for what we were looking for here. And it had taken me 2 years of interviewing people. I opened up the rec in Seattle and I filled the role in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I opened up a rec for a UX designer here. I got 3 resumes in a month. I got 3 resumes a day in Seattle. It's science. I mean,
Well, here
this is
are the
exact-
facts. We have 4,000 open computing jobs in Utah right now. Last year, we graduated 400 students from computer science in the state. And there were also, interestingly, only 400 kids who took the AP computer science exam. So there's this direct correlation between the number of kids in high school getting exposed, getting access, and those that are graduating, coming into our workforce. So, and we know that the jobs, the computing jobs, have an average salary of $81,000 a year, and our average across the state is about half that. So this, solving this problem will do what you want, Governor, as well, in terms of increasing the economic prosperity of the entire state.
And the number one things that happens, someone comes in, we recruit executive, the first thing they say is, where am I going to live and how are they going to handle diversity and what is the school system like?
Yeah.
See how this all comes full circle here?
And to make it even worse, you say there's 400. You told me that stat before we came out here. I was like, that cannot be right. If that's right, we're in a lot of trouble. Now, to make it worse, how many times when you're recruiting one of the top engineers out of one of the universities here, are they being pursued by companies out of the state? Like every time.
Every time, yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time.
The other thing I want to hit on before we finish here is diversity. How does increasing access to computer science in Utah affect diversity, in your opinion, Ryan?
Look, I mean, first of all, I'm probably not going to do a better job talking about this than what Sukhinder and Kim did. That's probably one of the, and it wasn't because I was on the panel, it was just legitimately, here are 2 people who diversity is such a topic and they've actually done something about it. And I think a lot of people could be sitting in the audience going, wow, Silicon Slopes is a highlight reel of everything that's good that's going on. Success breeds success, period, end of story. Silicon Valley wouldn't be what it was if we didn't have HP and we didn't have Google. Dublin wouldn't be what it was if Google and Twitter and LinkedIn weren't successful. Seattle wouldn't be what it was if Amazon and Microsoft would not have been successful. And I feel like in the state of the Utah, we're not rooting for each other enough. I really, really, truly feel that. It doesn't happen anywhere else a little bit like this. We're so forward to say, hey, look, we're willing to give, we're going to do that. But if you look on this stage, I want every one of these individuals to win. I want anyone who works for those companies to win. They have to win. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to compete, we're not going to fight over talent, we're not going to do all that, but we can't have you guys not win. We have to have that, because what will happen is if we want to be able to become that, if we want to be able to have a diverse workforce and relocate people, if we want to be able to have better education, if we want to be able to have people take jobs and move up in their career, we have to create that ecosystem.
Yeah.
You're not climbing over the trees or over the fence to take someone else's apples.
Yeah.
So we've got to start rooting for people a little bit better within the workforce on building these companies, because we're all on the same team. And we're going to do that in a way that's also super competitive, because that's what also pushes everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that we have a bunch of tech companies up there, because we push each other hard, and that's phenomenal. And I hope that there's 20 more out there. And if you're part of one of these companies, push as hard as you can, because you are actually helping the cause.
That's what Silicon Slopes is all about.
Hey, let me say this though, and you're absolutely right, but we've hit on a topic that is so crucial and key that I don't think that we aren't rooting for each other, but there's scarcity of talent, and so we're trying to. All of us are growing rapidly. There's a lot. There's just a few of the companies that are having great success. If we don't make the changes and are committed, this is all of us, everyone, committed to. Right at the start, the grade school level, junior high level, high school level, education system, doing it right, producing the right type of people, like the governor says, for the positions that are here, we're going to continue to battle a little bit too much. But if we make good decisions and we're supportive of that, business and industry is supportive of government and vice versa, it's not going to be overnight, and it's going to take years to do it, but we're going to be in the right position, because we're making the right choices for the future, not next quarter, or next month, or what our stock prices are. And I actually really feel like that's happening. The voice has been heard on both the private and public side. and it's going to happen. It's happening because it's important. It's important to everyone up here, I know.
Okay,
It should
yeah.
be important to you all.
Thank you. Last thoughts here. Go ahead, please.
An example of that is in Silicon Valley is Facebook. Facebook happened because it was in Silicon Valley. Facebook hired so many people so rapidly out of Google and out of a bunch of other tech companies in a way that really could have never been done anywhere else. And on a smaller scale, those types of things need to be able to happen here when the great companies come along. And like Todd just referenced, this is just a small sampling. We know there's dozens of others of companies that hopefully will all be bigger than the companies that we have up here. And then after that, dozens more that are in that $5 to $10 million range. But if you think about the ecosystem and just play it out here, it started off with Novell and iOmega and WordPerfect. And then that next generation of companies that came, they had people from those companies. And then the next class came, the Omnitures and the Overstocks and the Altirises. And if you look across all the tech companies that are in that $50 to $200 million range now, every single one of them has employees from those companies that learned along the way. We still have to augment with people from the outside, but if we don't have the underpinnings and the next generation of great people, and instead we're going outside and putting offices all over the place like Seattle where you can go and hire 200 people overnight, we're gonna be in trouble. So I think it's
Josh,
an important
just
topic.
so you know, if you're saying you're okay with people hiring other people's people, I just hired Stu. Do you know a guy named Stu?
Yeah.
Backstage. He's your event guy for Domopalooza. We just
I just want to say it publicly.
You all have people that work with me. I think Skonnard's got the most. He's got
No, I'm
I'm
just-
that works at Elmo.
I'm kidding. That came out of his seat and started to fight me. I'm just messing. But
Hey,
I
if
do
I
like-
can't keep him
but
happy,
I
that's
do,
something,
I do
so.
like that guy. Wow.
So, but you
Please.
talk about diversity.
Yeah.
There is a talent crunch in Utah, but if you use that word scarcity, and Steve Young, I tried to keep up with Steve yesterday, but was talking about this abundance mentality. I think that's what you're talking about too, Ryan. Like, we can't think it's a zero-sum game. So if you think a little creatively in abundance, there are short-term solutions. And one thing around the diversity side, we've decided we need to be a little more forward-thinking, and so we created a bunch of women in computer science scholarships, and we did them at BYU and the UVU and University of Utah and Utah State, and it was purely an experiment. Like we've got to go somewhere else. There is just not enough, and so we do the scholarships. We have an internship, and sure enough, a lot of these women take a full-time job, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
And it's something that we just hadn't thought, and it's a way to gain access to talent that we hadn't thought. So that's one idea.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 ideas in here, leveraging diversity, trying to do it a little bit differently than, you got some kid who graduates from the U. We all compete over this kid.
Yeah.
We
We need more.
right. It's
More
not
of that.
working.
More of that.
More diversity.
So, Governor, I want to
more
invite you to share some final remarks, but I just want to frame something really quickly. This thing we're talking about today is computer science in every Utah school, K through 12, and that's at the top of the funnel, like the front end of the pipeline. And then you've got this IT Pathways program, which is in high school leading into college, so they connect. We increase access in K through 12. We produce more kids that are interested in computing. They feed into IT Pathways. Now they have a way to go straight to a job or into a university program. That demand, that increase in demand will increase, the number of students enrolling in the universities and the number in the programs, and that will produce more in our job force. So I applaud you for all of the work you've done over the last few years with IT Pathways. I think it's an important part of the overall solution. And I just wanted to see if you had any final thoughts you want to share around.
Well, thank you. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you here. And this is a great summit, and I think the best is yet to come. I'm excited about the future. And I think that Utah has never had a better outlook for its future than it does today. So thanks to all of you. Clearly, from a standpoint of government, we want you all to be winners. We don't want any losers to be out there. We want you to be successful. We want you to be successful. The phrase I'd like to use, Ryan, I've used before, is what we have in Utah should be co-opetition. We cooperate, but we compete, and we cheer for each other. And we want to have your neighbor, Steve Covey used to say all the time, coined a phrase that's gone around the world, we want the win-win. The job of government is probably to do 4 things. One, let's make sure that we have competitive tax rates. We don't want to take away your profits and build government. We have people, I got a call today from a small company from a West Coast state that says the taxes are too high, we're coming to Utah. And it's going to be, 50 or 60 people, small company, but hey, we're glad to have them, right? So tax rates ought to be competitive. Regulations, when I get around the country, the people that complain the most about the things not working well, it's because of over-regulation, particularly federal regulation. So Utah and our government ought to make sure we keep our regulations to sensible things that level playing fields or protect the public, but don't put a drag on the economy. So taxes, regulations, efficiency in government. When we take your hard-earned money in the form of taxes, we ought to deliver you a service that is in fact commensurate with what it costs. Some states are not very efficient. We've been enlisted as the best managed state in America on numerous occasions. That's good. We shouldn't rest on our laurels. We are trying to find now 25% more efficiency in state government than we currently have. Just what you do in your business. Government's a monopoly, so we have to push ourselves with those competitive things we don't have, the market forces. And last but not least, which is the topic really of today, you need to be able to go out there and create whatever you decide to do with your business, your new goods, service, widgets, and you're going to have to hire people. That's the workforce. Government does have a role to make sure that we have an educated, trained, skilled workforce that aligns up with the demands of the marketplace. Now, people have choice. Some of the choice they make are wrong choices because they're not aware. I want to pick on those who have PhDs in philosophy, but we probably have an abundance of those where we need more computer programmers.
Easy.
No,
it's not a PhD.
Yeah. But again, if you can't go get a job with your discipline, it's not marketable skills. It maybe have great advantage to have a good society, but the practical aspect of education is going to be, can you get a job? We have a finite number of people in Utah. We have more jobs available than there are people. So we want to make sure that whatever we have are funneled into areas where they'll provide them a good job and a good career and a good living to support themselves and their family. I have 6 kids. I've done my part in trying to increase the population of Utah. They're not, my kids aren't as prolific as me, but they're trying to do their part too. Some of them will be going to work for your companies, I hope. But we have now, because of in-migration, the fastest growing state in America. But we have more jobs, as Aaron said, more jobs available out there than we have people. And if you've got any kind of skill and some talent and a work ethic, you can find a good job in Utah today. The expansion of the economy, the job opportunities are going faster than our population. So we need to be very careful about making sure we direct people in the right pathway, better counseling, better education, and awareness of parents and students so they can make proper choices that will be in their future's best interest. We're going to have in-migration. My biggest challenge, the thing that keeps me awake at night, is one thing, and that's growth. We have a lot of growth pressures. Congestion on our roads, crowdedness in our classrooms, getting the right discipline, going on to college. We have a goal of 66 by 2020. We're on pace. We're the only state in America to do it, where we're going to have 2/3 of our adult population have post-high school education in some form or fashion. That plays right into what you're needing. An educated, skilled labor force with some abundance that you can grow and expand your businesses here in Utah and not have to go to Seattle. Probably not going to happen, particularly as you become worldwide in many of the things you're doing. But we want to make sure that the hub of business experience and enterprise and expansion is here in Utah.
Well
the
said.
best place in America to do business.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well said, Governor. Well said. So just to remind everyone, if you want to get behind computer science in every Utah school, you can sign our letter of support. We'll flash the URL back up on the screen. And please do that today. And thanks, Governor, once again for being with us. And thanks, guys. Great conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.